back to this week's video. This week we're back on the C10. For your new viewers or new subscribers, this was a long bed truck that I'm converting into a short bed. The frame's already been shortened. If you look back through some of the previous videos, you can see how we done that and got that done. So now we're on to the body work, trying to get it ready for paint. This truck is going to go black, so it's got to be straight, and that's what I'm really striving for here. Try not to get any kind of rush to get the body work done. It's just a long, tedious process, and at best, it's not going to be perfect because I'm no pro at body work. But I'm just going to give it my best shot. Today, I'm going to mainly block on the door and the cab corner. I've got 2 coats of polyester slick sand primer on here now over the top of what body work I've done. So I did have to, if you look back through the previous videos, we had to work on the door gaps and the fitment on the doors to the level to the cab corner, and the same way on the front fender. And we've got that all pretty good. This tape line is where I block up to, because we use that laser level and got us a good straight line established across here. And that's what we're going to use to block it with also. So, but today I'm going to use the black guide coat on here. I usually like to use this black powder. Some people use spray paint, and that's okay, but this new paint, a lot of it has paint primer combined, and it's just it ends up being a problem to try, because it gums up paper and gets a little tacky. This stuff doesn't. It's a little more expensive, but it goes a long way. I've had this can probably for, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 years, and went through several blockings and builds with it. So it's not something that I'm going to have to buy that often, and for the price, I think it's the best way to go. So I'm going to put this guide coat on, get you set up here, and we'll show you what I'm going to block on. Today I'm going to use an acrylic block, narrow short block, and a piece of 180 grit paper on it, and that should cut the polyester primer pretty good. So I'll be right back and we'll get started. All right, let's get the guide coat on here and get to blocking. You actually don't need this on there extra heavy. I usually just try to put a pretty thin film over it. Just so you can actually see if there's any black left. I think that's plenty good enough. Get my old folks specs on, dust mask on. I always try to just let the block do the work and not push real hard on it. This acrylic block you can't hardly bend, so it's going to be straight regardless, but just makes it a lot easier when you're blocking. You can see here where it's starting to come in there. So what I'll do is I'll just keep blocking this as long as I'm not getting into metal or anything, because we got pretty good coverage on here. and see if we can get it straight with just what we got on. If not, we have to work it over again. Once I get this blocked with the cab corner good, I'm going to pull the door off and finish blocking it off the truck. But I want to make sure that I'm straight all the way around the edges. So I'm going to block up to the tape line, block down, and then get all of this done. And then I'll reverse the tape line below it here and sand up. So I'll cut you off here for a while. No sense you watching me block on this, but you get the general idea. It's starting to come in right in here. Still likes a little in here, but I think it'll block out okay. All right, it's really looking good. Really surprised. All of this up here is blocking out good, and I think most of this along the bottom will. A couple little low spots, but we'll see if they'll block out. And cab corner, I had to cut a little bit in down to the Bondo skim here, and I'm still not real straight on this door, so I'm going to continue on here. As long as I'm not touching metal, I can just keep cutting it off till it gets level all the way down. So we'll be back in a few. So this bottom has really surprised me. Just a few areas right here needs just a little bit of filler, and a couple spots right down there. See the couple little dark spots. The rest of it actually really looks good. I was kind of surprised. The cab corner is actually even coming in good all the way up. So I'm going to tape off another line. I'll show you how I'll do that. Okay, so I'm going to just take another roll of tape, and I'm going to go down where I've sanded already up against the other tape. So I just reversed the line to where I need to sand down to. Still keeping my seam there. All right, so I'm going to get some guide coat on this and then we'll start sanding on the top. Okay, for this procedure here on the round part of the door, I'm going to use a round block with a piece of 180. It just makes it a little easier in the curve to block. That's 2 mirror spots there that I had to weld up, so I expected them to be a little low. All right, you can see the top is not as good as the bottom, but it's still pretty good. Always around these door handles on these trucks and cars where the door's been slammed, there's always low spots. So expected that. Up this side of this cab, you can see a few low spots. Part of this is this guy has that gutter rail that bolts on up through here. And I'm pretty sure that's part of the issue there. But I am going to go ahead and block this out straight and fill what I need to fill. But as of now, I think I'm good enough. I can take the door off. There's a little low area right here, but I'm not going to worry much about it because it's just the difference between the curve and the door and the cab corner. So when the door is up like it's supposed to be, it's just a little bit low in there. I might put a little bit of filler in it just to bring it up, and I might not. I don't know. What I've done on this inside, I've got the latches in the doors, but I've also made the same thickness of the gasket here to where the door latches straight and it's even out here. So it gives me a reference to hold it to, because I don't want to block it out and put the gaskets on the doors and find out the door's hanging out 1/4 of an inch. So that's what I done on that. Just a couple of broken up paint paddles and a pair of vice grips. So okay, so I'm getting ready to take the door back off of the truck. And before I do that, I want to make sure I have my hinges pinned to locate. And what I usually do on this is just take a 1/4 inch bit, drill bit, and I'm going to drill a hole through here into the pillar of the truck so that I'll have some kind of keying index at the bottom and top hinge to put it back on there to get it back on where the door lines and the gaps will be the same. So I'll set you up on the tripod here and we'll drill these out. All right, so now we have them both keyed in there where they'll go back somewhat the same position. What I usually like to do is find something that fits just a little bit tighter than the bolt and try to work it in there first. I have an old Phillips screwdriver that I can actually use that's a little bit bigger than a quarter and makes the hole fit tighter. So, but that gives us anyway a general position where we're not a quarter or an eighth of an inch off either way. So it'll put us within about a 1/16 right off the bat, and maybe even a 32nd, it depending on how tight the bolts fit in the holes. So, all right, I'm just going to repeat the procedure on this door. Put some guide code on it and block it out too. I'll have to set up the laser level again, get me a line across there and then some tape. So I'll get that all done and we'll start blocking on this door, and I'll show you what we have here. The door is going to need quite a bit more work than the driver's door, but I'm going to go ahead and put some guide code on it and block it, and then I'll get back with you here when we see how it looks. All right, here's where we're at on this door. You can see it's got some dark areas there at the very bottom, which is low areas down right in there, and a couple right here on the very edge, right in there. Got a high spot right up there where I hit metal, so rather than tap that down, I'm just going to feather around that. It's not real bad right there, but I'm going to try to put just a little bit right in here to feather that out. Spot right down there at the very bottom. Got a couple small spots right in here. The center part of that door, if you'll remember, it had a place right there, and it pretty much all of that is blocked out. Feels really, really, really good. So back here at this door edge, I've got a little bit of a high spot right here that I cut into the metal, and the rest of it is pretty good. So it needs just a little bit of filler right there. Probably what I would do is just put a little bit of lightweight filler on this bottom part here. I'm going to go ahead and block the top like I did on the other side. So I'll move my tape line down to the bottom, tape that off, and block the other side around the top of the door. All right, I want to stop there for today, and we'll start back at it again tomorrow. I've got the lowest places skimmed on the passenger's door. Didn't have too many. It was still a lot worse than the driver's door, but not too bad. Up in this area here, I just went ahead and skimmed all of that around the lock set. Whether you remember or not, but the handle was pushed in here, and I had to pull all this section out around the door handle there. So wanted to make sure I got enough on that. But we're going to stop there for today. I did skim on the other side a few places. I'll show you. Go ahead and get this done before I pull the door off. Had one spot down there, a little bit right there on that ridge, and up there where the mirror was, where I welded the hose in, and around the lock and handle over here on this side, or the handle as well. And of course, down low there where it was just still a little low. So tomorrow the plan is to go ahead and block these places off, and then pull both doors off and finish up on the door jambs where I can get the inside of the cab ready to paint. And of course, you got to paint the back side of the doors too. But the main part of it is getting the body line back straight on the truck, and I think we're pretty good there. We get it all sanded down. So we'll see you tomorrow. All right, I'm getting ready to remove the door this morning, and so I can start finishing up the door jambs. If you'll remember, we drilled 1/4 inch marking holes, 1/4 inch bolts in each of the holes there. And that's just to keep the hinge in position. The hinge is still bolted to the door. Probably going to leave it bolted to the door the whole time from now on, because I already stripped them off. And then we'll be able to, when we put the door back on there, we should be within pretty good alignment. I always do this. It's an old body shop trick, obviously, but on these old classics, especially on stuff that it's hard to get the door aligned on. The new stuff, a lot of them have welded hinges, so there's not much movement, but on these trucks and cars of this era, there's a lot of movement. So this sort of eliminates the problem here. So we'll get this door off and back on the stand. Okay, so I got the door pulled off. I skimmed a few places just inside the door jamb. I just like the look of when you look in the door that it's smooth. So that's why I put some Bondo around that edge there. Pretty good on this jamb over here. I'm not going to worry about where these welds are because that's just part of the original part of the truck there. But this part of the door jamb, I want to try to get pretty slick. And of course the rocker. Over on the door, let me show you what I've done on the door is actually really solid. You can see here, this is all factory. It's got the factory ripple swivel turn in here where they stretch the metal. I'm going to leave that alone. I don't want to change that because it makes it look like you've tried to Bondo up a door that's not great. Same thing right down in here. It's got the stretch ripples. But across the bottom, it had some dents to where people had kicked it with their feet and what have you getting in and out of the truck. So I skimmed this area here, which if I put the standard door panels on it, they'll stop here. So this will all be exposed. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I may put the full door panels. It's got the carpet down here. Just not sure yet on that. But either way, it'll be okay if I do decide to do that. Across this bottom was the same thing. It had dents just all along it. So I don't know why, but it did have. So I put a skim across that I'm going to block off. So, but everything else on the door is really good. I haven't blocked any of this yet, but you can see it's all factory edgings, no rust or anything. So we'll continue on, and as soon as this sets up, get the door sanded and probably put some more primer down on this area. I'll probably just use 2K on this. No sense of using polyester, really. Same thing on the door jamb. I'm just going to spot this in with some 2K, and then we'll sand all of the door jamb area with we'll probably go ahead and use 180, and then if we've sanded through any place, shoot some primer on it again and go back for the final sand. But I'm not striving for extra straightness here. I just want it to be smooth. You can see here where the welds were, where they joined the parts together. These trucks were never great finished on the door openings. So, all right, so I pulled the doors back off of the truck. Remember we drilled the indexing holes, and here they are. There's one right there and one right there. And what I normally do on these, when I put the doors back on, I just get a plastic plug, button type plug, and put through the hinge back into the hole. And you know, the hole's always there. I don't try to weld them up or fill them in or nothing. So yeah, but when I do go to put the doors back on, it'll make it tremendously better to get them lined up, because you're within a 1/16 or so right when you put them on, because the hinges on the doors are tight and they are not going to move. So it's just an old body shop trick that an older guy taught me a long time ago. So it seems to work well. This is the driver's door on the bottom. I went ahead and filled in those dents that was here and just skimmed that with a light coat of filler. So if I want to use the smaller door panels on it, I can. Same thing along the bottom here. Didn't do anything to the lip because there's nothing wrong with the door lip, no rust or anything on it. Just mainly just filling in some dents. I don't know how it got dented on the bottom, but it did. So took care of those. The passenger's door, it's a little different story than the driver's door. I had to go back and I skimmed all of this area again after blocking it again. So this should be the final block on this, and then I'm going to put another coat or two of polyester primer on this door. I know it seems like a lot, but I gotta get this thing straight as possible. So that's where we're at on those. I'm going to end the video right there for this week, and try by the next video you probably see on the truck will be painting the interior, getting all of the interior of the cab painted and the windows channels around on the inside and the outside around here, so I can go ahead and hang the doors and get the glass in it. So everything in here is pretty much ready to paint. I'm just going to seal all of this top with sealer and then spray it black. Same thing with the dash. Just the door jambs, still got just a little bit of work to do on those, not a lot, and they'll be ready for one more prime, sand, and then ready to paint. The driver's side is just about done. I put a little bit more filler up there last night. I want to sand that and get that ready, and then we're going to shoot some slick sand on these door jambs and block that off. Not much blocking in these door jambs, mostly just smoothing them up. They're not going to be straight because of all the welds and spot welds and what have you, but I just want them to look clean looking when you open the door, and that's what I'm shooting for. All right, here's a look at what should be the final prime on the doors. This is the driver's door that I just finished, and got it primed front and back, top, same way on the passenger's door, the back side of it. Here's the front side. So next I'll probably block this with probably 220 the first time, and then we'll go back with probably 400, and then probably wet sand with 600 before we paint. But I think we're good enough to go on these now. Everything's straight. Should be ready to paint. Keep in mind I did drill the guide hose in the hinges, so we should align right back up on the cab. We get ready to set the doors back on, so make the fit go a lot quicker, and the alignment process go a lot quicker. And I'll show you the cab out here, what I've got done on it. The dust, I've been sanding in here on some other parts. It's already got dusty, but I've got all the door jambs primed for the final time. So we'll just do the same on those, probably 220 and then 400 and 600 on that, and around the front window frame and the driver's side. So good progress this week. Okay, I'm gonna make that a wrap for this week's video. Next time you'll see this, it'll probably be on the paint side, getting ready to spray the inside of the cab and the door jambs on it and get that part done, so I can get some glass, the back glass put in and the front windshield put in. And then we're probably going to jump off onto the doors and get those ready to paint too, so we can get the whole cab sealed up. I'm going to have to order a weather strip kit for it. I don't have that yet, so get that coming and get it on its way. And making progress. Hopefully I'll have this thing done by spring and be on to another project. Thanks for watching, and remember, get out in the garage and have a little fun.